Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us on another one of our Northeast Florida real estate show. In today's episode, we have a whole lot of great stuff planned out for you guys. And if you're not familiar with each other just yet, my name is Angela Olmos. I'm a full-time realtor in the Northeast Florida area. And I'm here with my co-host, Delaney Bravo. How you doing today, Delaney?
I am great. I'm ready for some sunshine, but overall, we have a holiday weekend this weekend. Super excited and ready to kind of share some fun stuff today.
Awesome. And Delaney has a wealth of information when it comes to financing. She's with Fiber Mortgage and we work together, so if you need any kind of financing help or buying, selling, or investing in real estate, we've got all the deets, all the stuff that you need. In today's content, we're going to talk about some of the benefits of using a realtor when it comes time to buying or selling a home. And one of the things that I wanted to point out is that, in today's day and age where we all have any kind of information that we could possibly need or want at our fingertips, it could be very easy to try to say, well, I'll just go ahead and try to sell my house on my own or try to buy a house on your own. And I'm here to tell you, even though you have a wealth of information available at your fingertips, it's not necessarily the best thing to do. And there's a reason why there are realtors. I'm going to go ahead and take the information from my blog, and I'll put the link on the comments section. So if you want to read more about this topic, you can. But it's basically why you need an expert agent by your side when it comes time to buying real estate. And obviously, the process of buying a home can feel intimidating in any market. It's a big purchase. It's probably one of the biggest purchases that you'll make in your whole lifetime. So, if that's intimidating in a normal market, I can only imagine within a shifting market with everything that we have seen with the interest rates going up and the inventory, coming back, but not necessarily at the levels that we would need for a balanced market. It really is important to work with someone that knows the market and can help you through it. And there's a few things that you would want to look for when you're working with a realtor. I would say probably the most important one is experience. You can't fake experience. Either you have had the experience by having gone through the experience and learning the lessons from the experience, or you don't. And when it comes time to buying a home, I think there's so many little things that might not be visible that you might not know if you had not had that experience. Just really, I'll share with you an experience. I had an offer come in my listings on Mother's Day. And I always ask for a pre-approval letter. I make sure that, if I'm going to be presenting this to a seller, that approval letter is good for the financing that they're offering to pay for the home. And it did have a pre-approval letter with the sales amount, no problem. And I called the loan officer just to make sure that it was good. And she said, yeah, we're good for the amount. Okay, perfect. I presented it to the seller, and what do you know? When it comes time for them to actually process the mortgage, I guess the realtor didn't know that the association fees on this property were going to actually shift the financing to a higher debt-to-income ratio. And I don't know if he just didn't know, if it was an oversight or just didn't have the experience, but that's something that you definitely need to make sure that you work with an agent that has the experience, because if you have the experience, then you would know anytime you have a condo, you're not going to just have the payment on the sales price, but you're also going to have the monthly association fees. And because you can't live in the condo without paying the HOA fees, it's something that's definitely going to affect the ratios. Isn't that right, Delaney?
100%. And just as an experienced agent, the fact that is something that shows your experience. And then on my side, as soon as it's a condo, anytime I have a buyer about anything, if they like a property, send me the address and I pull the HOA, I pull the tax bill so that we can make sure A, they're comfortable, but B, they qualify for that specific property. So did you end up getting another buyer for that listing?
So we're working on getting another buyer for the listing. I'm hoping this weekend that would all be sold, but yeah, so it just made me realize that buyer was trusting on that agent to submit his offer that he was under the impression that he was fully approved for, but it really wasn't. He wasn't giving the right proper guidance, I think. So who you work with really does matter. So just make sure that you're working with an agent who has the experience. Another thing that you would want to know with condos is that they don't accept every kind of financing. Just because you have been pre-approved for a VA loan or an FHA loan doesn't necessarily mean that you can use that type of financing on every single property, because not every condo is FHA or VA certified. Isn't that right, Delaney?
What? Yes, 100%. Sorry, I just had a chill.
Okay.
But yes, so FHA, there's like certain additional requirements for a condo to be FHA approved. We can do a single unit approval, so just on that specific unit. But for example, if there's 50 condos, there can only be 5 in that complex that are using FHA financing. So, if you have a listing as an agent, a lot of times you'll dig and see those type of things, so you can accurately put on your listing notes what type of financing you can get on your property, because you don't want to, that's a huge thing. And that's what an experienced agent does. And then also when you're representing a buyer, checking with your lender and making sure you do that footwork up front. And these are the things that will cost buyers time, money, and hassle, because you've paid for an inspection, you've paid for an appraisal, you've paid for all of these things, a condo approval, and that footwork wasn't done up front. It can be a waste of money where all of that could have been avoidable. So this just isn't like a testimony to how important having that experienced agent is.
Absolutely. Another thing that we do a whole lot of, and I actually enjoy learning stuff. This is the way I'm wired, but most agents, do enjoy educational content about real estate. And, obviously something that we have to know about, because, it is our career, it's our expertise, but it's also a way of being able to relate this information to our buyers in a way that's easy to understand, because not everyone understands the to income ratios or days on the market or all the other indicators that we often keep track of. But if we're able to relate that in a conversational way to a buyer that might actually be buying for the first time, all of that education can be so much better absorbed by working with an experienced and a great agent. Another thing that comes in handy is in the negotiations. This is probably the part where you have the most like stress, or not necessarily stress, but this is an exciting part. It's where you actually get to determine how much you're going to pay for the home. And because it's so exciting, sometimes you could easily let emotions get in the way. And having a good agent actually takes the emotions out of it, and allows you to make an educated decision just based on the data that we're able to provide. So, through these negotiations, we look at data, we make sure that the sales price is within a range that's acceptable, so that we don't have any issues with appraisals later on. And all of that can be done in a way that's professional, that it's data driven, and it takes all the guesswork and all of the emotional stuff out of the buyer's realm, so that way they can arrive at a sales price that's comfortable for them and create a win-win. So that's another way that we can help you. The contracts are something that you're also going to need anytime you're buying real estate. And the other day I was reminded the average buyer only buys a home every 5 to 7 years. Have you heard that, Delaney?
Yes. And when it comes to the contract side, have you ever been at a restaurant and you're listening to like the servers talking to each other, and they're like, oh, 86 this, and you got sat at table 77. Like, there's always a vernacular within industries. And so when you have an agent representing you that is able to communicate agent to agent on those negotiations, on those contracts, you can rest easy that that's all being handled. If you were to try to negotiate on your behalf and write a contract on your behalf, there's a lot of wording in there that is like second nature to an agent, right? So like contingency, timelines, appraisal lingo, comps, providers, like all of these things, that's where an agent will have your back.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's true. And, because the buyers only buy a home in average every 7 years, the contracts were very different 7 years ago. So much has happened in our industry where a lot of those documents have had to be revised. And, so you have to also keep up to date with any kind of revisions. And that's some of the learning and the education that I was talking about. So having a good experienced agent that can help you through those contracts is absolutely necessary. And then most importantly, pricing, of course, making an offer with a seller can be, sometimes difficult and stressful. And just a good skilled agent that understands the pricing in that community, in that area of town, could really help you just have a much better experience. So because of all of these reasons, you won't be surprised that 86% of buyers buy with an agent. And that was data that came out from the National Association of Realtors. I would have thought it was even higher than that, but yeah, you definitely need an agent by your side. So if you are considering buying, selling, or investing in real estate, please reach out to me. I would love to be your trusted advisor. I've got all the tools and all the resources, including financing and all kinds of home inspections and anything that you would need with contractors to help you get to your goals. And I'm also going to highlight here that I do have a free first-time home buyer guide that you can download from my blog, which I'm going to include on the comments section below. So just go ahead and feel free to download that. It's just a freebie that could help you get started. So that's what I have. I hope that this was helpful to you guys. Like I said, this is all content that came from my blog. I'll include the link, and I look forward to helping you guys through your home buying process.
Well, and one thing I'll say for you, Angela, is one analogy I love is, so you have a tooth that needs to be pulled, right? Could you grab a pair of pliers and pull out your own tooth? Probably. But is that going to be the smartest option? Where do you go? You go to a dentist, right? So it's kind of the same deal. Like, this is not something you do every day that you have no experience in. So you want to make sure that you have somebody who knows what they're doing, that you can trust with the most likely biggest purchase of your life. And one thing I wanted to ask you is, typically when you're representing a buyer, who typically is the buyer paying a commission to you out of pocket? Do they have any fees that they're paying you, or how does that work? Like, as far as, is it free typically to use an agent if you're buying a home?
Good question. Yes. So basically, there is a commission that's paid to all agents. And the way this is worked traditionally always in real estate is that it gets paid for by the seller. So when I'm working with a buyer, yes, I do get a commission, but that commission doesn't come from the buyer's expense. It's actually already factored into the listing that the seller has already negotiated with that listing agent to put the home on the market. So it's really like getting free advice. Now, I will say there is a transaction fee that's very common these days, very reasonable. It's only $250 paid at closing, and only if and when we close. So really, I am fronting all the resources, the time, the energy, and everything just to get you into the home that you want. And then, all of that will be rewarded at closing from the seller's proceeds, or from the seller's account. Yeah.
Awesome.
So you've got some exciting stuff happening in financing too.
I do. Let me share my little screen here so we can chat about a tool that you could use with Angela to help you put an offer in on a home. And it's a great idea that many people don't know about. So let's put it up here and chat about it.
Awesome. Let's see.
Okay. So have you heard of a 2-1 buy down, Angela?
I have. Yeah. These are really popular plans to help the monthly payments be more manageable within the first couple of years, right?
Absolutely. So this is called a 2-1 rate buy down. So just to explain what it is if you look on the screen, you would have, for the first 2 years of your mortgage, you would have a lower rate than the market rate. So let's say that the current market rate is a 6.48%. If you did a 2-1 buy down, your first year would be at a 4.48. Your second year would be at a 5.48, and years 3 through 30 would be at a 6.48. So this is a great way, because if you're offering on a home, let's say that you have money for closing, right? And you want to ask the seller to pay for something on your side, you give you a credit. So you could go in and say, hey, could you give us some money towards our closing? Well, maybe that's not what you're most concerned about, because overall picture, matters what your goals are with your payment, with your home, with everything in this arena. And that's exactly what Angela was just speaking of, that she will help you with getting to your goals on finding your home and getting it for a great deal. On my side, it's let's crunch the numbers and see how to get you where you want to be. So this is something that you can request the seller pay for. So obviously that goes into the negotiation side, and that's, not always 1000% how it shakes out. But you could say, hey, the cost of this 2-1 buy down on my home I want to try to purchase is this amount of money. Seller, will you give me a credit to cover that? Or if you are listing your home, ask Angela, hey, am I able to advertise this? This is a great tool to help move your home to sell, because it's going to entice those buyers, because they know off the jump they are going to have a lower rate. Have you used this on any of your listings and seen any differences?
I have. I've used it on a few of my recent ones, and it worked like a charm. Both of those were under contract in days, less than a week for sure. And I think the incentive was one of the things that was most attractive to those buyers, because the home was beautiful, and I also priced it to today's market. But then also having that extra incentive, I think we put $5,000 towards closing costs, and they could have used it towards a rate buy down too. So once you get a seller credit, it's very easy to adjust and put that wherever is going to be most beneficial to you. But we did use that as an incentive to help the listing move faster.
Absolutely. And just to I just wanted to discuss this option, but just to throw it out there, there is a 3-2-1 buy down, where in this scenario, your first year would be 3.48, then 4, then 5, and then 6. So there's even a 3-2-1 option. Obviously, that option is a little bit more expensive. And let's say that the seller doesn't cover the cost of all of this buy down. That doesn't mean that the buyer can't, but this gives you an easy way into the home to have some more affordable payments. And it's something that you could use on a listing, you could request as a buyer, and it's a really awesome tool. And the lender, myself, I can even help cover some of this cost. So it is something that if you hear this, if you're watching this, ask Angela, ask me, and we can kind of help you with this. And it's just a great tool among many different tools. So she has my info at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to reach out to me. If you have another really quick tool, is I am able to give a credit to the buyer on any of your listings. So if you have a house that you're looking to sell, if you have a house on the market, if you list me as the preferred lender on that listing, you can write in the comments, and I know Angela has done this, $1,000 credit, lender credit. So I am agreeing to give $1,000 to whoever purchases that home, obviously, as long as they use me for the financing. So we have a lot of tools in our toolbox on Angela's side, on my side, to get you where you want to be.
Yeah, and the process is pretty simple. You always want to start off with your pre-approval. Anytime you're doing a serious purchase, you would make sense to know how are you going to pay for it. If not, you're just window shopping. But if you're a serious buyer and you're committed to making this happen, we can help you. We can totally make this happen for you. So the main thing is getting pre-qualified, calling Delaney, making sure that you have your loan application already completed. And then from that, I'm going to get a pre-approval letter that will give me everything that I need as far as like what sales price I should be shopping for to help you find that home. And then we'll work through the process. So it definitely helps to get started with the financing. And I've had her information scrolling through the bottom of the screen. So please call and take the first step.
Okay. Can I just tell a story really, really quick?
Sure.
Okay.
Storytelling.
This is just so crazy. So I had a buyer call me yesterday and they wanted to get pre-approved. They were referred from their realtor, which I'm always very thankful for. And they told me they got pre-approved by 2 banks that are typically favorites by military. And they said that they got pre-approval letters like that, but that all it said was they could go up to this amount, and it was like auto generated, right? And I asked him, I said, okay, cool. Well, I'll do the same thing. I'll tell you what your maximum is. I'll tell you what payment that would put us at. I'll tell you what estimated money you would need at closing. But I'll also, where do you want your payments at? Because just because you get approved for a $500,000 loan doesn't mean you want those payments. So that's not super helpful. So anyway, he was like, it's been 2 days since I've applied with them and nobody has reached out to me since then. And nobody has told me anything about my payments. It just says I can go up to 500 and I don't know what that means. So making sure you're working with a lender and that your realtor is connecting you with a lender that will do that footwork. Because I've heard this so many times. Like, it's just sad because yeah, you could go up to 500. Well, what about if that's what the realtor gets from your pre-approval? You don't know the difference, and you guys are going and seeing $500,000 homes. You're putting an offer in on a home, you get it accepted, then you see the numbers, and then you're like, whoa, there's no way I can do this. Like, I'm sure this has happened to you, right?
I try to get all my I don't try. I always get all my buyers pre-qualified before we go shopping. So no, it doesn't happen to me very often.
That is true. That's true. Maybe with some newer agents or some, that get that pre-approval from somewhere that's not local. But I just was like, wow. So if you have a pre-approval letter and it just says your maximum amount and nobody has broken down your payments, what you would need at closing, how that process works, then you are getting a disservice done to you, because this is, at the end of the day, the house can be beautiful, but the numbers are what are going to affect you day to day. And if you're paying your bills, if you feel like it's too much. So just I wanted to share that just as a PSA. So
I have a story to tell you too. And this happened actually this morning. I was looking at some of the feedback that I've gotten on one of my listings. And one of the feedback messages today was like really good. Like, thank you for letting us see it. My buyer really loves it. It was best. They thought the pricing was excellent. And usually when I see feedback like that on one of my listings, it's an immediate prompt for me to call them. And that's what I did. I'm like, oh, thank you for such a positive feedback. I love to help our buyer and seller, or your buyer and my seller, come to an agreement. How can we work together to make that happen? And I was blown away, but she said, yeah, she loves the house, but I'm just going to get her pre-approved today.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, hold on a minute. You showed my listing. You made the buyer fall in love with it, but you haven't gotten her pre-approved. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, so yeah, who you work with matters, because really the pre-approval should be the very first thing you do before you show a buyer a property that they could potentially fall in love with. And, and I trust that there might not be any issues with their financing, but you never really know that. You have to, just make sure that you provide the best experience. So yes, always get pre-approved first.
Yes. And we have a holiday weekend. So
fun. What's fun and happening in Jacksonville?
So there isn't a ton of stuff. Everything's kind of Memorial Day related. And don't forget the reason for Memorial Day. So, so positive vibes and thanking those who have been affected and all the things that have, the people who serve for our country. So with that being said, we have a couple things on the docket here in Jacksonville. So the Memorial Day concert and picnic in the park, this is right in Riverside. So a beautiful historic area. It's going to have a concert. There's going to be food trucks. They're going to, and it starts at 6:30 p.m. So it's a really cool thing that you can do right there on Monday, just to kind of round out your weekend. And I think it's going to be really cool. And the parking lot opens at 4:00 p.m. So you can get there, get your lawn chairs and get your spot, listen to some music. And I think it'll be really fun. So there's the flyer.
Yeah, I think I know where that is. There's the monument that's famous. I'm sure it's got a proper name for it.
Yes, see, they have a little picture of it. Yeah, I think that is like Riverside Park. Like, I feel like it's the name of it, but I don't want to butcher it, but I'm pretty sure that's right where it is.
I think it's a historical landmark here in Jacksonville. It's like one of the icons here. It's beautiful.
Yes. Oh, it says Memorial Park. So not Riverside Park, Memorial Park, which actually very fitting.
Okay, good. See, we can always get the information. If we don't have it, we'll find it.
And then the Jazz Festival, I have been to this personally, and it is really, really, really cool. So it's all over downtown. They have multiple stages, multiple different events going. It is a jazz festival. People are flying in to perform at the Jazz Festival. It is really, really cool. So they have, again, food trucks. Then when I went, we paid for like a VIP, which is very inexpensive, but with the weather, it was a little rainy that weekend as well, like 5 years back, and it has tents with snacks and a buffet. And so paying for that to be able to have that coverage regardless of what stage you're at. But this is going to be Thursday through the end of Sunday. So they have all different types. So go on, buy your ticket, show up, buy a ticket there. It's a really cool event downtown.
Awesome.
Yes. And then another one, again, our little chat friend wants to hang out with us, is Music on Main. So it's another music kind of thing. It's Springfield Memorial Day concert. It's 5:30 to 8:30. And this one is in Springfield, another historic district. There's so many awesome historic areas, and I just like looking at the homes. So really, really fun. There's also going to be, this benefits a local veterans organization, which is really, really cool. It's a free event, and it's at, I don't want to butcher this park name, but Sesquicentennial Park off Main Street.
Centennial Park, yeah.
And it's going to be a fun one. So a lot of Memorial Day related things. Go to the beach with your family. Go to a park, have a picnic, barbecue, like so many fun things. And I'm just wishing everyone a safe and fun holiday weekend.
Yes. Well, I'm excited. I'm super excited about the weekend, especially when we started with one under contract already.
Air 5. Yes, we just got a contract in together today. So right after this, I'm going to start working on it and get it submitted to underwriting. So kicked it off with a bang. I got 2 other buyers who have offers pending. So it's hopefully going to be a really good Friday and a really good weekend. Maybe full of some work, but hey, I'll take it.
That's okay. Yes. And Memorial Day weekends are usually really busy weekends for real estate. So if you have been thinking about doing something like this, whether it's buying, selling, or investing, definitely reach out and don't wait too long, because Saturday and Sundays are going to be crazy. One of the reasons why I was so excited about getting this one under contract is because I knew there could be more competition if we waited until Saturday or Sunday. So just all things could work in your favor when you take action, and I hope to hear from you.
I do have to say really quick, I'm going to brag on you for a second. Angela literally met this buyer via Zoom Tuesday afternoon. Thursday evening, she had this buyer under contract on a home. Like that turnaround. First of all, you're available, you're sharp, your negotiation. Like I just want to brag on you for a second, because a 48-hour turnaround from buyer consultation to under contract is unheard of. So awesome job on that.
Thank you, Delaney. I appreciate you noticing that. Yes, and it really helped that you had already pre-approved her, so she was ready. I was working with a buyer that's willing, ready, and able, and then I could come in and show my expertise and help her through it. So it's been fantastic. I'm really happy for her, and the house is beautiful too.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, I appreciate you guys joining us this week. Feel free to share this with anyone that could benefit from it. If at any point we could help you again through the process of buying, selling, or investing in real estate, don't forget to reach out, and we will see you next week on our next episode. Take care, guys.